name is Kranthi.
I'm Neelima.
We come from India. We have two boys named Jeremy and Ethan.
We've been here for around 4 years for now.
I grew up in South India, a state called Andhra Pradesh. I'm very fortunate to be born in a Christian family. My father used to work in a school. My mom used to work as a nurse in healthcare. To be a minority in a country where majority of people are from Hindus, we felt a little bit insecure. Normally people in India think Christianity is a religion of Western world. So we felt that sometimes it is we don't belong to India, we don't belong here. But at the same time, because our parents and our grandfathers, their great grandparents, they're also Christians, and they have also walked the same walk. They believed same God. So we were encouraged that our grandparents and they are Christians. I did not I did not have a relationship with God until year 17 when I went to a gospel retreat. When the preacher, when he finished his sermon, he gave an altar call, and at that time I felt something is missing in my life. There is a vacuum inside my heart. I seem to be happy outside. I'm meeting my friends and enjoying with them, but there is a vacuum which I could not fill. When the preacher asked for an altar call, I asked, Lord Jesus, forgive my sins, come into my heart and change my life. That's all what I did. When I gave my life to Christ, I became obedient, I became responsible, and God changed my life, transformed my life from inside. There was joy in my heart, which, as I said before, that there was a vacuum, but that vacuum was filled with the joy which only comes from the Lord, I believe.
I grew up as a Christian as well. My parents were also Christians, and my grandmother was a very strong Christian. She used to have a home church in their own house. They started a small church in their own house, and we used to have very small congregation, but people from different faiths used to come and hear the word of God. My grandmother used to sing songs and preach to them. Not like a formal preacher or a pastor. She was not trained at all, but whatever word she knew, she used to share with them. And a lot of people in our neighborhood came to know about Jesus, and they were baptized later. They became like members of the church. At the age of 12, I was listening to this sermon that my uncle was preaching, and he was telling about how Jesus sacrificed his life for us. I felt like, how can King of Kings, he is called the King of Kings, and he is dying for me on the cross. I felt like, God, I'm not good enough that you would die for me. That changed my heart that day, and I really felt like I wanted to commit my life to God that afternoon.
When I was studying in engineering, I came to know that my parents are going through financial hardship. When I used to study in a different state, when I used to come to home, people would come to our home because our parents could not repay the loans they have taken from them. And at that point, my mom told that she wanted to go to Middle East, because Middle Eastern countries are richest countries. They offer good money. And I told to my mom, I told to my mother that instead of you going there and suffering, I will go, Mom. I'll go and I will repay the loans. That's the time when I after finishing my engineering, I went to Kuwait, a small country in Middle East. Soon after going there, I realized that I slipped into a rabbit hole. My visa got cancelled. The person who told me he would offer me a job, he said he did not give me any job. He told me to move out of his home. So all of a sudden that I was in a foreign country without having a job, without knowing anybody. And I went there to solve my parents' financial problems, to clear their debts. But there, in the midst of that, I myself landed in trouble. Instead of solving those problems on my own, I looked up to God and I said, God, it's hard for me to deal this. And God comforted me through His Word. He encouraged me through the Bible. There is a verse in the Bible which says, I am the Lord, is there anything too difficult for me? And I started believing in the Bible, and I used to go to church and regularly. And then I submitted all my problems to Him, my job and my situation. I got a job initially, and after working there for a few years, I moved into another position. God was really faithful to me. He did not leave me in my troubles or in my problems. He was with me throughout. God did not spare your son, but you gave him for us. So these problems in front of you, they will melt like wax before you. I used to claim those promises, and I repaid my parents' debts, and God gave me a good job. I went there without a job, but when I left that country, I was in a very good company, in a good position. So all this I could not have done without the help of God.
After I finished school, I was more active in the church. Fortnightly, we used to go to small towns and villages around our town. Our town was itself a small town, but there was even smaller villages around our place. So we used to go there and sing songs, and they were very receptive of us. Though they were from different religions, they were very receptive, and they used to come and just sit and listen to the word the whole time. And I spent most of my teenage doing that. After that, we moved to a city where I did my graduation. I was backsliding. I could see that I'm not going to church regularly. My interests were changing. At that time, I was going through a very tough time. I felt like I was very lonely, and I needed God, and I started depending on God again. I started reading word, praying more at the time, and God was so good. He was so gracious that He was giving me that extra time and extra mercy so that I could get back to Him. It was as if He was waiting for me to just reconnect to Him again. Maybe I felt like when I was backsliding, during that tough time, through that tough time, God wanted to reconnect me again to Him, and my relationship with God was restored again after that.
After God gave me a breakthrough financially, I told my parents that to look for a bride for me. It's a tradition in India that parents would involve in marriage. If I like the girl, then my parents will go and see the girl first. So traditionally in India, the marriages are chosen by parents. We never met each other. We have not dated. We have only exchanged our profiles to a Christian marriage bureau, telling about ourselves, introducing about ourselves. And we have few things in common, and I told that I like this profile. So my parents initially, they went and saw Neelima, and they told me that they were happy. So I prayed to God, and God gave me a clear peace in my heart. He gave me the guidance, and then I came from Kuwait to see her, to meet her in person. So that was the first time I saw her, and we talked with each other. And then I told that yes, I like the girl, and we would like to get married. That's how it ended up.
So my parents had got this initiation from Kranthi's parents that they want to come and see me, And so I started praying about it. When I saw the profile, I felt like there is so much in between us that's common. Like mostly how we came to know about Jesus, we had written all about that. So that was something that I really was impressed with Kranthi's profile, and I said to my parents that they can go ahead and see further how it goes. But I would say, as it may be strange in in Western countries, that parents would go about and make a choice for us about marriage and finding a spouse. Like how they would get presents here for surprise, we would get spouses for surprise. though it was a very good surprise for me, the best surprise I would say. And I think before getting married, we only had met twice, and we only saw each other face to face only twice. I think it was only for half an hour or something.
Yeah, I think I saw her and I went back to Kuwait. For 6 months, we did not talk with each other, and after that, I came straight down for engagement. We had an engagement, and after that, marriage. So we only saw each other 2 times before marriage. Yeah, but it worked. We as Christians, we wanted to involve our parents, because there is a great blessing when you take blessings from them. It's a family affair. If our parents and their parents should come together, and they should celebrate this event, once in a lifetime event.
I know it is a bit strange to say that you are marrying someone who you do not know at all, but for me, I felt like I was instantly in love with him, because after getting married, I think in 10 days he had to go back to Kuwait, and I could really not take that. It was so hard on me. I felt like it was more like God united us. I don't say that other marriages are not by God, but this is something I had felt personally while I was praying for him. I used to pray a lot, and I used to pray all nights asking God, do you really want me to get married to this person? Do you really feel that this is your will? Because I just all that I want is to be in your will.
Yeah, after I got married, I went back to Kuwait. It was hard to leave her and go, but I know that I will come back again and take her. I processed the visas for her. I made a new house. I took a home. After living in Kuwait together for 5 years, and we thought it's time for us to go to a country where we can call it as our home. We applied for immigration permanent residency to Canada. We did not get Canada, and we applied for Australia as skilled workers, as both of us are engineers, and we can get under a skilled visa. We applied, and it's a miracle. When before we wanted to come to Australia, I was thinking whether I could go there and work as a fly-in fly-out job, because most of the jobs are here in WA are fly-in fly-out jobs, and we were praying that we would go to Australia with a job, and miraculously God opened the doors for us, and I got a job with SO. Straight away we came to Longford, and we could be as a family without not going to offshore. We can come home every night, and that's a great miracle God has done for us. As Brad mentioned in the good habits session about the 4 good habits, about prayer is one of the good habit, reading word, and fellowship. These 3 things we followed. We prayed regularly. We had good fellowship. Our friends in Kuwait, they used to pray before coming to Australia for our move. Regularly they used to pray that we would get a job, and these good habits have really helped us to be strong in our faith. And the next week we searched on the Google what's the best church around, and we find Sale Baptist Church is the best church, and we straight away came to church. And my wife, on the first Sunday, she met Alana and her boys, and Our boys are also same age, and they connected very easily. We do not know that she is the wife of senior pastor, and we are very fortunate to live in the same street and become good friends after few months.
After moving to Australia, there are so many things boundaries that we had set for ourselves. We don't have those boundaries anymore.
Correct.
There is more
Freedom.
more freedom in the sense it's not freedom for sin, but freedom in God, because we were more condemned back in India. Like, if we don't go to church every week, God will not be pleased with us. If we don't pray every day or read the word, God will not be pleased with us. This is sort of how we grew up in India. After moving to Australia, it is more about how we are related to God, how we are related to people, and we have learned so much about being out there for the people rather than just doing things for God and setting that ticking the boxes for God, that yes, I did this, I did that. Rather than that, it has opened up our spiritual life so much more to that openness to God.
Yeah, I would like to add few points on that note. We coming from India. India is dominated by Hinduism. When we went to Middle East, it is dominated by Islam. So we never had that freedom to say or to feel that we are secure in this country. But when we came to Australia, being Australia a Christian country, we felt that there is freedom, and we can go to church much freely, and we can talk about God much freely. Yeah, we are feeling now that we're in a safer country, a safer place.
God has always been faithful, and though we had left God and we have been in our own ways, and we were doing things, many of times we have made our own decisions. He always made sure that we reconnect to Him throughout the life, and He has always made a path for us, and He led us like where to go. This is the way. Though the waiting part was a bit hard, but there was always, at the end of the road, there was a sign saying that this is the way you turn.
Yeah, I would sum it up. If I look back and see all this 37 years, God has been faithful to me. I went through a lot of struggles, difficulties, but one thing I can say, that God has been an ever-present helper in times of trouble.
Oftentimes we feel that I'm not sure what I'm doing right now. I'm in a big mess. Raising children is not easy, and I'm not a good parent. There are so many doubts, and there is so much going on in my mind, but there is always a hope that God will do something. I'm sure He'll come up with some solution. I just trust my kids with you. I just trust my future with you, and that's how I go to sleep.
We do not know what the future holds, but we trust in the one who holds the future. So I'm sure that God has plans for us, plans to prosper us, not to harm us, plans to give us a hope and a future.